What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivan Shi, and we are here. Season 2, episode 4 of Dead City, Feisty Friendly. Now, so much happened in this episode, and I really don't want this recap to be like a complete retelling because there was a lot going on. So I'm really just gonna continue to break them apart. Maggie, give me a second because these dogs always start doing something when I start. Give me this. Literally, they will be doing nothing. And as soon as I say, what is up, they go find the loudest thing to chew on. Not tonight, not tonight. But yeah, so I don't want this to be like a whole retelling of the whole episode. If you've been watching me for a while, you already know that I kind of like grew from like a full like recap to really just hitting like the hot points of the shows, because otherwise why watch the show if I'm just telling you everything, right? But I'm still going to separate it. Like, we're going to talk about what's going on in Maggie's world. We're going to talk about what's going on in Negan's world. And in this episode, those worlds collide. And so I have a lot of thoughts about what's happening. And I don't know. I'm just really excited. This episode for me so far was my favorite. I think that the acting, Kim Coates did a phenomenal job. It really felt like I was watching a play and just watching somebody have so much fun within a character. And so like certain things just really stood out to me in this episode, and I have thoughts and I have feelings about where this season is gonna go and like everything that's happening. So I did take so many notes. I'm gonna try not to lean on them too much, because if I do, then it's gonna be complete retelling and a regurgitation of everything that happened. And I don't want to do that. I want to be present. And I'm a flawed human being. If I miss something or if I misspeak, then it is what it is. Help me out in the comments. It's just opinion. This is fun. Okay. We're allowed to talk to each other respectfully. Okay. Let's be good human beings, unlike whatever they're doing in the apocalypse, right? Everybody is shitty. And in Maggie's world, right? What I really loved about this episode, with Maggie and Perlie specifically. So Maggie, Perlie, and Hershel set off to go scout at the museum so that they can continue on their journey into Manhattan, get the methane, and take it back to New Babylon, and just try to, make the world a better place, I guess, with the methane gas, right? And Perlie and Maggie have kind of been on opposing sides, and I'm gonna be real, it was really Perlie's fault. Like, Maggie just out here trying to keep her son safe. She's trying to go do her own thing. Like, she's not trying to be in the ranks with y'all. She's trying to be a regular old civilian. And up until now, Perlie has been like pretending to be on her side, but then undermining her at the 11th hour. So once everything kind of happened in the last episode with the foragers and that girl dying, and them finding out that Negan was the one who helped Hershel get out of like the stock and the trees and stuff, then Maggie and Hershel had to come clean with Perlie, like for real, about what actually happened and why Negan is there in the first place, with it being an exchange of freedom. But of course, y'all already know Perlie is being held as like the Negan killer, but Negan is clearly very well and alive. So they go out, they doing their business, minimal people, whatever. Hershel was there before, so he knows the lay of the land, which is why he's outgoing. And they start talking about like what they missed about the old world. And it's been so long since the apocalypse happened. It was just really nice to sit in this moment and have Perlie talk about, how New York was, and you know what he misses about it with food. He wishes to have, like, getting a sandwich from the bodega. Maggie talked about a Kit Kat, and it was just one of them things that made me sit and just be like, damn, like, if the world ended, what would I miss? But also, I could do that right now because I miss when a bag of chips was 25 cents. 10-cent candy, penny candy, like, times is rough, okay? We are living in the worst of times, it seems, some days. But I liked that. And then in this moment, Hershel is kind of like, that's interesting. But then, of course, like any moody teenager, he bursts the bubble and he's like, y'all are trying to go back to this world and rebuild a world where it really just seemed like people were killing each other for resources and power. Like, the fuck? And my first mind is like, boy, you don't know nothing about the old world. All you know is books, right? My second thought was, what do you think is happening now? Like, the fundamentals of human beings and being greedy and selfish hasn't changed. Like, hello. But then the third thing, again, I'm always going to bring it back to Earth Abides. And I'm glad that Perlie even had this conversation with Maggie where he's like, you know, I have the same fears that you have, keeping my kids safe and wanting something better for them. But do they even want that? When are we going to stop and ask our children the type of world that they want to live in? Are we trying to get to the old world for them? Or are we just doing this for us because it's what we know and we fear the unknown? And if you've seen my Earth Abides recaps, if you've seen me talk about or heard me talk about anything apocalyptic, that was really the overall messaging is like, stop trying to build old shit. The old shit crumbled because we were terrible. Let's do something new. And if we mess up going forward with doing something new, at least we know that it doesn't work. But we know the old way doesn't work. So stop holding on to what used to be. So I really enjoyed this conversation. And I enjoyed the fact that Maggie finally opened up and was like, you know, I'm all hard and stuff on the outside, but every day that I wake up, I am scared. I am scared for myself. I'm scared for my son. There's just so many different things haunting me. And I just love that Perlie in this moment, it was like parent to parent. And they really connected in this way, especially when they've kind of been like bumping heads for the first 3 episodes. So genuinely enjoyed that, right? But at the end of the day, we have to go see what's up, get what we need to do for Negan. Let's finish this mission and keep it moving. Now, on Negan's side, oh my God. Okay, so y'all already know he killed old boy last episode, like Croat. Why did you do that? Like, what, you knew he was gonna kill that man. Come on. But you know, accidents, they happen. So the Dama, Negan, Croat, and they have Benjamin in the trunk. They go and they're meeting with Bruegel so that they can get this alliance, because we already know, like, Dama, she wants everybody on her side, build her army so she could beef up Manhattan, beat New Babylon, and reign supreme, right? And I already said in the last episode, I really enjoy how she's very much a puppet master in things. And in this episode, when it's time to speak kindly or politically or anything like that, she's talking with Bruegel, she's laughing with Bruegel, she's doing all these other things. But when he says or does something that she don't really like fuck with, she's like sending nonverbal signals to Croat and Negan, and they're the ones being like the bad guy in the situation when really she's the one pulling the strings. Now, as a character, I like that in her. Her character, though, in what she's doing, I don't like it. But we're gonna get into my theories and thoughts about how this is gonna like turn out for her. I don't think it's gonna bode well. But I enjoy how sinewy and sinister she is. She is just that, like, sleek. It's like something about her is more than like a snake in a grass. It's like an eel in like a swamp. Like that is what she is. And I really need to watch season 1 because I really want to know like where her power kind of came from. Like what is it and how she came to be. Now, remember in episode 2, I think Benji was like, your face looks familiar. So while they were sitting here in their little like gladiator Game of Thrones situation with Bruegel, you know, putting on like this fight or whatever between walkers, Benjamin's like, oh, I actually know where you're from. And she was apparently some big hotshot theater critic, like the theater critic of New York. And she's looking like real kind of uncomfortable that somebody kind of clocks her tea a little bit. And Benjamin's telling the story. And so Negan's like wholly like interested because she's like this mysterious being. She don't really talk about anything. And so we already know how Negan uses information. So he's very charismatic. He's going to be interested in it so he can hear and glean a weakness from it. And she kind of picks up on this. And so she ends Benji's story and she's like, yeah, we got into an altercation and I bit him. But speaking of discoveries, Benji, who was it who drew those pictures that's in your history book? Was it a one named Hershel, you say? And so now she's like clocking Negan's tea. She's like, you think that you're protecting the people, but I know about your wife, I know about your son, and I know about young Hirsch. So you can go ahead and get that glee out of your eyes because it's not going to work. Meanwhile, the Croat is so fucking annoyed with Bruegel. He cannot stand that man openly seething. But what I love about Bruegel, okay, first off, very Rumpelstiltskin. And I'm talking Shrek 4 Rumpelstiltskin. Very much. Anybody want a cupcake? Cupcake? Baba? No? No? Okay. Like, I love him. Like, nobody's smart but me. And Bruegel's energy in having the whole setting be in a museum, his favorite painting being like very Renaissance era, his outfit, his presentation. This was so fun. He was literally the best part of the episode. Like, oh my God, I had so much fun during the Negan scenes. So he's putting on like this little gladiator thing, you know, Walker versus Walker, whatever. You know, winner takes these stakes, you know, because he's like, I want an addendum to these things. And the Croat's like, listen, we're not building no second methane thingy up in here, so you better do whatever we say. And Bruegel's like, okay, get the fuck out then. Like, y'all need me. It's cool. And so Dama actually gets up because she's looking at Croat like, you fucking idiot. And Negan takes this opportunity. Now, this is a very big play for Negan because this is an opportunity to usurp the Croat. We already know Negan is going to kill the Croat. He's promised this after the violinist died. Okay. So like, this is a thing we already know. And Negan, you know, comes up with a good idea. And in this idea, he goes out, he's like, listen, we're gonna play again. If your Frankenstein wins, cool. We'll do the addendum. It is what it is, because we're gonna get this alliance. But if we win, you don't get the addendum, and you still align with us. Like, we all still get to walk away with something. So Negan goes out and he grabs a Walker that he saw in a car, and that's when Maggie, Perlie sees him, right? So they're like, okay, Maggie's like, I got a plan. Let's do this. So they get back, they, you know, doing the whole little like, getting all the walkers and stuff set up. They're resetting up the pit, resetting up the fight. When one of the people goes and gets Bruegel and everybody comes in and somebody set the painting that he really loved on fire. And of course, it was Negan. Dama's like, there's a difference between being strategic and being stupid. So I hope you figuring out like which one it is. And Negan's like, girl, chill, like relax. When we hear the infamous savior whistle. Honestly, it brought back so many memories because the savior season, like in season 5, kind of leading up into like who the saviors actually were and the big Negan reveal, it was a phenomenal moment in this episode. Great callback. And nobody really seemed to notice it. And it's so crazy because the Croat was a savior. So the fact that he didn't pick up on this was insane to me. But Negan's like looking around like, okay, it looks like everybody's kind of distracted about this painting. So I'm gonna just ease on down the road right quick. And Dama's like, sir, where are you going? He's like, can I go pee? Like, damn, get off my dick. And he goes out, and Negan and Maggie are face to face again. And she like, it looks like you living it up here. And he's like, girl, I am trapped. I can't help you no more than I'm barely scrounging and helping myself. And that's when Maggie's like, what does she have over you? And she guessed it, his wife, and Annie, and his son Joshua. And she's like, bro, if you cared anything about me and my baby boy, give me something. And so Negan relents and he gives her a location, right? Because that's all he can do without it being known that he's the one snitching. But right before he heads back, he tells her, the Dama, he doesn't say her name. He says, she got to Hershel. You cannot trust him. He's working for her. So Maggie's like, what do you mean? And who got to her and all this stuff? What are you talking about, right? Because she don't want to believe Negan. Negan's like, listen, girl, I got to go. You need to get the hell up out of here. And where is young Hirsch in this plan? With the Dama. So now, obviously, this lady knows that New Babylon is somewhere around. Okay. Now, we don't know what happens when they see each other, but it was almost as if she was expecting him or expecting something. But the way that she greeted him can kind of be either, I was waiting on you, you did a good job, or, I was wondering if you were going to be coming back. Like the vibe and the way that she delivered that line is very ambiguous and enigmatic. And I think it was definitely done purposely. So more to come on that. And so they go back, they're fighting, and Negan oils up his walker because he's like, look, all you said was we can't touch them, but we finna bend these rules like Beckham right quick. So Brugel's like, okay, bet. So he's using himself to taunt Negan's walker, and Negan's like, oh, okay. So he jumps in the pit. But Negan is doing this because Maggie is up at the top and she needs to get the hell out. But what does Max do? Get seen by the Dama. Now, Maggie recognizes her face, even if she don't know her title or her name, because she found that picture in Hershel's drawings. And when she asked him, he said he didn't know who she was. He just saw it on the billboard. So there's so many things kind of like colliding right in this moment. And during this time. So the Croat had already accused Bruegel of cheating or performance enhancing his walker, but he couldn't really prove it. And so when Negan got out of the pit and was kind of taunting him, the walker comes over, Frankenstein, and grabs him. But like I clocked early on, when the Croat clocked it, I was thinking, like, I don't think that's a walker. And when he was up close, that was human eyes staring at Negan. And so, girl, not my iPad. SIRIB, ear hustling. And so Negan pushes him off, and it ends up allowing Bruegel to win. So the Dama and the Croat sitting there like, motherfucker, I thought you had this plan in the bag. Like, now we gotta build another methane facility in here. But Negan whispers something to Bruegel, and the Dama and the Croat don't really know what's going on. So Bruegel's like, hey, this was so fun and so entertaining. And this is all about relationships and alliances. And in the spirit of, like, you know, pale ale, mead, and raccoon, we'll honor the original alliance. you don't have to build a second methane, and we'll also join your army. So the Dama's looking at Negan and looking at Bruegel, and they're like, okay. But everybody else is just like, hurrah, whatever. It's like, this is Sparta and banging of the tables, all in this or whatever. So the Dama is very, very pleased with Negan, to the point where she allows Negan to sit in the back seat with her. She's like, hey, let's chat. And the Croat looks like he wants to throw up. Honestly, his acting and his mood this entire episode 2 was just really fun. For all of the 3 episodes, you've really been seeing him kind of cool, kind of chill. He was a tiny bit undone when the violinist died because he knew what that meant for Negan. But the Croat is very smug. But Bruegel gets under his skin like none other. And I really wonder like what the backstory is for that, because he cannot stand that man. It was like on sight. He cannot stand Bruegel. And then to watch Negan kind of expertly handle Bruegel in a way in which he was undone and unprofessional. Now it's like you can see like a jealousy seeding, because we know he wants the Dama's approval. He wants to be her only, right? Like there's something in him that is very needy for her, and she's not giving it to him. And Negan even brought this up. Why do you keep doing this in the hopes that she's gonna give you something more when she's not? And you know, he does everything for those kisses on his forehead from her and her approval and everything like that. So now that's kind of like rumbled. Okay, the table has been shaken in the Dama Croat relationship. And now that Negan is the cause for this alliance going in their favor, this puts a damper on his plans, like a lot. And so with all of this, Perlie is up on the roof. Maggie gets up, but Hershel is not in sight yet. And he finally comes up. And she's like, why were you late? Like, what were you doing? And he was like, oh, I just kind of got lost a little bit. And she's hugging him and stuff. But something in Maggie's eyes, I hope, maybe I'm reading into it, but I think she doesn't want to believe it, but the seed of doubt is planted with what Negan said. Hershel coming out late. Her knowing that he drew a picture of this woman and she just saw that woman. So obviously this is not somebody that you just seen on a billboard. But I think we're going to go a couple of more episodes where Maggie is going to still be in denial about all of this crap. But in that moment, I think the seeds of doubt have been successfully planted. Speaking of doubts, Bruegel is giving a nice little monologue at the end, and he's so happy. And he pulls back the curtain, and we see one giant man who is indeed a man. Now, earlier, before the fights and stuff kicked off, the first round of fights, before he was accused of cheating, he was telling the story about like how he was this powerful man and he was really important in the old world. And he had this bodyguard named Tony, and Tony just was so amazing and did everything for him and really taught him about like servitude and service and selflessness and all these other things. Y'all, he had Tony ass in that ring looking like a walker and fighting these other walkers. But unfortunately, Tony had to die because Negan knew the secret, and that is how Negan was able to lose that fight, but still get the Dama what she wanted, and Bruegel slit that man's throat. Now, Bruegel is very deceptively evil, and I love it. The last shot with him is going to the window and looking out, and all I could feel was like, this is an alliance where it's a double-edged sword, and there are two swords, one pointing at the Dama and one pointing at Bruegel. And I'm very interested to see what this convergence of a power struggle looks like between Bruegel, the Dama, and Narvaez. So Narvaez openly asked Jenny when she was like, okay, is the man that you're looking for who killed your father, is his name Negan by chance? And Jenny didn't say nothing. But Narvaez is in her fucking feelings because Perlie been putting his rank down on her this whole episode. And so there's these little pockets of people that are vastly insecure. And in order for them to feel secure in themselves, they're seeking power in the most diabolical ways. So you got the Croat with jealousy, you got Narvaez with jealousy, and then you have Bruegel, who we don't really know his motivations right now. And I'm pretty sure the guy who Negan like shocked is still alive, and he hasn't agreed to this alliance yet either. So if Negan can like successfully become the Dama's like main bitch, then I think when all of this comes to a head, it's really going to be one of those things where everybody's coming up, and it's really going to be like Game of Thrones, like this person, and trying to battle it out and like reign supreme. So there's that. The Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 2, Episode 4, Feisty, Friendly. Some of my thoughts, which I gave a lot of them through them, I am torn between who the Croat is going to try to kill, Negan or the Dama. And the reason I want to throw the Dama's hat in the ring as somebody that he might kill is because it could be one of those like fatal attractions. And I don't even know that he wants her romantically. I think he just wants her attention. And if he's not getting all of her attention, then no one will get all of her attention. So I can definitely see the Croat killing the Dama. But the easy nugget is him plotting to kill Negan, or at least set Negan up so that the Dama can turn on Negan and stop using him as an asset. Narvaez, for her vie for power, definitely see her making a real attempt on Perlie's life and manipulating a relationship with Jenny in order to expose Perlie's lie about killing Negan and then forcing this girl to kill Negan in cold blood. I can already see that just with the story that Narvaez kind of told about, you know, how she was saved and how she was brought up and what she feels and how she feels about retribution, and loading that gun and giving it to a highly emotional and irrational teenager. So I definitely see a little bit of some toxic grooming there to use Jenny as a weapon for her own agenda, while also discarding Jenny at the end once she gets what she has. Like Narvaez is not a good person. Not at all. That is a snake, where the Dama is like sinewy and eel-like in a swamp. Narvaez is a snake in the grass, but that one can easily be caught. She's not as slippery and slick as the Dama. And then my last thought is, I hate to say it, but Maggie girl, are you gonna have to kill your son? Like, if he is trading your secrets, if he is the reason that that boat was attacked, I would be torn. I guess I would have to lock my child up in prison for life. But like, if he is the whole reason that that whole thing went down, then baby, you are in danger, because your blind love for him will get everybody killed. Will absolutely get everybody killed. And then you got to ask yourself, is your one son worth everybody else's life and livelihood? And that's tough. That's tough. And Negan giving her that information really kind of puts Maggie in a pickle right now. It really puts her in a deep pickle. And I wonder how this type of revelation will work with her making amends ish with Negan in order for Negan to try to get Hershel to see that the Dama is lying. Because at this point, young Hirsch listens to everybody but his mama. And you know, that is the plight of the teenager. They just don't think at all. And I know it's biologically impossible for them to see reason anything that goes against their own thought process is like an act of freaking treason against them. And a lot of that strife comes from parents, right? This is why like mentors and all these other things are there, especially during teen years, because sometimes just hearing the truth from somebody else will be better than hearing it from somebody who's been telling you what to do your whole life in the first place. Now, does Maggie, would she like for that mentor to be Negan? No. But I mean, unfortunately, Negan is good with the kids. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But speaking of Negan, I talked about this, I think, in the first recap that I did on where I can kind of see forgiveness coming in for Negan. I think by the end of this season, there may be a little bit more of like a solid forgiveness ground for him. It really is gonna depend on how everything is playing out. If he can get the Croat's position, or not even the Croat's position, but a position above the Croat with the Dama. And if he can objectively and irrefutably prove to Maggie that Hershel is compromised, I think that's gonna be the path where Maggie and Negan are forced to be in each other's presence, and Maggie will kind of be forced to look at him differently, because her anger and inability to let go is already a source of contention between her and Hershel too. So something's gonna have to give. And I know a lot of fandoms is like, oh my God, why do we have this show? Why are we having her teamed up with somebody who killed her husband? He was a terrible monster. He was all these things. It's a post-apocalyptic show. They're all terrible. There are crimes worse than others. There are sins worse than others, but a crime is a crime, a sin is a sin. And this is a make-believe zombie world where everybody was killing everybody in the name of love. Everybody's own motivations of love and own twisted views. They all did it for someone or something that they loved. So it's just like, okay, we're here now. So like, they got a show together. They're both executive producers on the show. They're both co-leads on the show. So we're going to have to write something. And so I think that getting Hershel out of his little sleeper cell program with the Dama is going to be the thing. And then also helping Negan get his family from the Dama's clutches. Like, there's gonna have to be some type of ultimate betrayal where Negan sacrifices, again, it's gonna have to come from Negan sacrificing his life, even if he doesn't die, but putting a target on his back for Maggie and Hershel in order for something to kind of mend there. I don't know. And I'm keeping myself in the dark about these things until it's time. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode. I apologize for missing last week, but honestly, last week, not much really happened. So it wasn't pertinent to me, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. Let me know what you're thinking about this season. What do we think about Bruegel? What do we think about Negan? What do we think about young Hirsch? And if you got people that only want to listen to the audio, make sure you share the Spotify and the Apple Podcast link. You can find me over on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I do all types of film and TV updates, and there have been a lot coming out this month. It is crazy. And For Your Consideration season has been in full swing, and we are not done. Emmy noms are dropping, I believe, in a month. So 1 month or 2 months, think July. So be on the lookout for so many updates there on the Instagram page. You can also find me on Twitter, where I'm talking about so many different things that's in my mind, other movies, stuff that I watch for fun, stuff that I screen, and all types of stuff at Kivanchi. And you can find me on TikTok at Kivanchi, where I do short form reviews and recaps on shows that I do not talk about on the podcast on this platform. So if you have suggestions, leave comments on any of those platforms, and I will try my best to get to it, watch what you want me to watch, and give my thoughts on those things. And with that, I'm going to catch y'all in the next one.